Hey guys, Kevin Shaw here, editor-in-chief of Mopar Connection Magazine. Want to do something a little bit different today. Want to give you guys a very quick, very easy tutorial. I want to show you guys how to take a traditional square back, externally regulated, multi-wire, multi-field alternator and make it into a one-wire, internally regulated alternator that you can run on any modified Mopar that you guys have. The alternator I've got here is what you would call a police alternator. It's the 90 amp alternator and it is externally regulated. We're going to change it to an internal regulator or a self-regulated one-wire alternator. And believe it or not, all it takes is one part to make that happen and just a small socket set. The only thing you're going to need to pick up is this regulator that we grabbed off of eBay for about $38. It's part number D679SE, that's Sam Edward. This regulator comes right out of the box with everything you need. You got all the wires, they have all the eyelets. You have everything you need to attach this. And we're gonna show you all the steps it takes to crack open your alternator, to install this regulator, and get it ready to roll in your Mopar. Hey guys, I just want to take a quick minute to let you know that we've got the Mopar Connection store up and running, where you can find all sorts of t-shirts and hoodies in a ton of colors and different sizes. We've even got designs for some of our project cars like Zombie and the Brazen Charger. So make sure to check out the link in the video description below. Now, like I said, this is a traditional alternator. This is a factory style replacement, but what you would call a police edition alternator, because we go from the regular 60 amp up to 90 amp. They made these alternators for heavy load. Obviously a police car, an ambulance would be drawing a lot more electricity than your traditional Roadrunner or Charger or Coronet. We got our hands on this a few years ago, just sat on the shelf, and we thought, hey, this is a good opportunity to show you guys how to make this into an internally regulated alternator. Now, you can grab all sorts of internally regulated alternators. This one is actually an official Mopar part. We've been running this on the Charger, and it's been great. And the best thing about this alternator is that it is a 110 amp alternator, which is significantly more than this and almost double what the factory alternator ran at. Now, the reason we're running 110 amp on our Brazen Charger project car is because we have the electric fuel pumps, we have the electric fans, we have fuel injection, we have a computer. We got a lot of draw that normally would not be on a factory car. I want to show you a little bit of the modifications that are made inside of this one and how we're going to get close. We're not going to perfectly replicate it with our conversion, but we're going to show you a little bit of what goes into these aftermarket ones. All right. You'll see how it's connected to the internal regulator. That's the internal regulator that they've installed in this one. You can see how it's tied in to these posts here, and it's a simple matter of unscrewing and reinstalling some basic eyelets. Not difficult at all. There's no soldering involved, there's no wire work necessary. It's all very basic. These type of internal regulators are available on eBay. We did see them for sale. So if you don't want to do the larger, what I would say clunkier external regulator, you can do an internal regulator just like this one. But we're not trying to replicate the Mopar one here, but we are going to show you something that anyone can do at home. But I did want to illustrate how an internal regulator can be installed in here. So let's put this back over here. We're going to set it aside. All right, that came apart really nice. You can see what the factory did here. This is where that new regulator would go if we were to replicate this. But since we're not trying to replicate it, we're going to run the regulator, and we're going to show you how to wire it in here. We're going to leave that alone. We're not replacing this. We're also going to change out one of our brushes because you can see we got a little bit of arcing. We have a little bit of resistance here, and we don't want the excess heat. So we're going to put in one of our new brushes. All right, so let's get our new brushes out. And they give you insulators as well, which is nice in case you lose them, because they do have a tendency to fall out and disappear. I am using a 1/4 inch socket with a 1/4 inch drive. Now if you can see, our brush, the end of our brush has some irregular wearing on it. You see that it's got a chamfered end on it, but you can see it's been polished on the end. That means it's irregular. It's only making partial contact. So we're gonna put a new brush on there, and that partial contact explains why we've got all of this. See how it's even cut at the end? So brushes are very sensitive in alternators, and if the brush lets go, you're not gonna have good contact or contact at all. So we're gonna use this new replacement brush. We're gonna use this nice clean housing, slide it right in, goes in, fits in nicely right here. But we're not gonna put this on until we've fully assembled it, because we don't wanna have it catch or break or something unexpected. So let's put this guy to the side. We'll put this back over here. All right, so now let's get our regulator. Okay. Now, it doesn't necessarily lay nicely on the outside of the housing. It's going to be just a little wonky. It's just going to be a little bit of an octopus hanging on the top of your alternator. But it does do the job, it does work well, and it goes together very, very quickly. So we're going to take this, we're going to run our blue wire in through the housing. Let's go up through the bottom, right here. Then we're going to take this one loose. I think a 9mm fits really nicely on that one. Pop that loose. Now we're just going to take the same hardware that it came with. Doesn't require anything special. And let's tighten it down. All right. And that is literally it for the inside of your alternator. So, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make sure that our holes are lined up with the housing. Sometimes the stator likes to rotate. Now we're gonna reassemble the case. We've got ourselves all situated over on this side. We are going to start organizing some of our spaghetti here. Alright, I'm looping this around just so that the ground wire stays nice and tucked and out of the way. And we can run this bolt through it into the housing. So now we've got our lead to the back. We've got our ground attached right here, right behind. So now we can wire these. So we take our Y connected positive. We're gonna run this to our new brush, and then we're gonna take our short green, put it right to this field wire. All right. So let's put our new brush in. We're gonna make sure that it doesn't pop out. We wanna make sure the spring is in good condition and that it's not bound up. All right, now we're in good shape. We're gonna hook up this terminal right onto this field. This is our ground or negative post. There is our hot positive. Everything else is nice and tight. Everything is insulated. Looks really good. If we want, we can take a little zip tie. We can zip tie right there. We can zip tie right there. In fact, I'll do that right now because there's no reason for it not to. We'll snip these off and we'll get these looking good. this will have a tendency to back off. So I'm going to do one more super overkill, totally unnecessary zip tie, because I don't want these guys walking away too far. I don't like the idea of wires bouncing around loosely. Okay, looks good. Let's put it in the car, huh? Make sure you have all the appropriate hardware, especially if you're doing a factory replacement style. You definitely don't want to try to cobble this stuff together. 440 source has been my go-to for all of my brackets and hardware. They've been really, really easy to work with. Everything is nice and fresh. These are older parts, don't get me wrong. But on other engine builds that I've done, I almost exclusively use 440 source for a lot of that, especially because I don't want to mess with finding the right thing or piecing parts together. It's a headache. And the last thing I need is another headache. That positive on. Let's get our ground on. Now I know it goes without saying, but I gotta remind you, do not touch your alternator until you disconnected your battery. I've made that mistake. I've been in a rush. Boy, do not touch your alternator until you've disconnected your battery. I know it's Auto Shop 101, but I think every one of us needs a reminder time and again. Here, let's put our belt on. Now, careful when you do this. I've actually snagged my heater hoses and had to replace my heater hoses. Oh boy, there we go. There we go. Nice and tight. So as you can see, we got our wires out of the way. Our belt's nice and tight. We've tried to isolate everything. All right, our positives are out of the way and covered. Our negative is just up there. We should be all good to go. All right, what do you say we do a little bit of a cold start? See how it charges. I figure the best way to test it is to drive it. Sitting there idling in the garage isn't a real test. Right now we're at 14.1, just driving through the neighborhood. One of the fans is already kicked on. I just turned on the gear vendor. It shot down to 13.3, but we're still well over the 12.5 to 13 mark. Always like to be above 12.5. But we're gonna see what this alternator does around 25, 2600, because that's where the most draw is without any accessories on, without any headlights on, without wipers on, all that jazz. Gear vendor, 13.5. All right, we're definitely at 2600. No whining, no whistling. got too much air in the tires. Just breaks it loose all the way through it. Well guys, I'm gonna keep cruising around, just checking out, making sure that we got good charge. But for right now, I'm pretty satisfied, pretty happy with this very easy $40 upgrade, $40 swap that anyone can do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, maybe leave a comment, share it with your friends, definitely help us grow the channel. If you want more awesome Mopar content, please check us out at www.Mopar Connection Magazine, where new articles are written and published every day, entirely subscription free to you. We'll see you there.